So picture this. You're the chosen hero. You've got the sword, the destiny, the whole Save the World starter pack. Cool, right? Except our guy Frey Round Starlight said, nah, I'm doing it the hard way. He's kneeling in front of the Demon Queen right now, sword held out like he's presenting a gift. And behind him, the entire kingdom is on fire. Not metaphorically. Actual fire, actual kingdom. Gone. The Demon Queen looks at him and goes, damn, you slaughtered your own family and friends just to get here. That's actually kind of iconic, and calls him the worst monster history has ever seen. And Frey bows his head and says he's honored. Bro said thank you to that. But here's the thing. In his head, he's not villain arcing for fun. He's thinking, this was the only path. I killed everyone I loved with my own hands, and it had to happen this way. So we're not watching a bad guy win. We're watching a guy who decided the fastest way to save everyone was to end everyone first. Great plan. Terrible vibes. We cut to Kanya, the black mage, standing there with a knife to her own throat. Not a great sign. She looks at Frey and says the one thing she regrets is not taking him down with her. Then she just does it. Slits her own throat right in front of him. That's chapter 1. Energy right there. We're 20 seconds into the flashback and someone already checked out permanently. Next up, Archmage Elena Filliard. Front line, demon army bearing down on her, arrows sticking out of her like a pincushion. Girl is not okay. She looks at Frey and says something like, doesn't matter how many I kill, there's no end to this. But if dying stops the apocalypse, fine. That's a price she'll pay. Then she asks the real question. Why does it have to be you leading the demon army? Why is the guy she trained, the guy she believed in, the final boss now? She says she was a fool to trust someone like him, pulls out one last explosion spell, tries to take Frey out with her. Misses. Dies alone. 0 for 2. The body count clock is just getting started. Scene cuts to the princess of the empire. She's on the ground, monsters everywhere, Frey's monsters, and she's looking up at the one person she trusted more than anyone. She tells him she never imagined the empire would fall because of the one subject she trusted most. That's rough. That's the kind of line you don't recover from. Frey walks up, sword already out. She gets one more line in, tells him even in death he's going to be remembered as the most despicable person she's ever known. And then he just finishes it. No hesitation, no dramatic pause. Straight up villain execution. At this point, if you're keeping score, everybody who trusted this man is losing. Church is on fire. Saintess Faroche Asterad is inside it, praying, thanking God, which in a burning church is a choice. She says thanks to the evil hero, she's finally realized God abandoned everyone a long time ago. Frey walks in. She turns around, tells him she'll never forget what he's done, says even in death she's got a duty to go tell God exactly what kind of person he is. She does not get to finish that sentence. Frey sends her to deliver the message in person. I'm not saying the man has a type, but the kill someone mid-sentence move is becoming a pattern. Last stronghold, humanity's final wall. And standing across from Frey is Selena Luna Moonlight, the strategist. This is the woman who calculated everything, every supply route, every troop movement, every possible outcome of this war. And she looks at him and says, even after running every number, questioning every conclusion, she still can't stop herself from having feelings for him. Bro picked the actual worst possible moment in human history to become a red flag. Before that thought can go anywhere, an explosion goes off behind her, and a boulder just flattens her right there in front of him. That's 5. 5 people who loved him, trusted him, or fought beside him, all gone, all by his hand or right in front of it. And that's the line that closes it out. In his head, Frey says, that's how I became the villain. Because it had to happen. We're back in the present. Demon Queen's still there. She says it's basically unheard of for a hero to team up with the Demon Lord like this, and now all that's left is to destroy his sword. Frey pulls it out. She takes one look at the aura coming off it and immediately knows something's wrong. She's yelling, asking what he's actually planning, and Frey just tells her the truth. This was always the plan. Die here with her. Suicide attack. Takes the Demon Queen out with him. Everything goes white. And right as the light swallows everything, Free's thinking, this is it. This opens the way to save the world he just destroyed, a way to bring back everyone he killed. Then he opens his eyes. He's in his bed, his own house. He checks the calendar, and it's the day before he starts at the academy. This man just detonated himself alongside a demon queen at the end of the world and woke up as a teenager with his whole life still ahead of him. He calls up the system. Blue screen pops up. The path of the false villain. Turns out this is a hidden route you can only unlock by destroying the entire world and dying next to the demon lord while you do it. Which, fair, that's a pretty exclusive requirement. He stares at the screen and realizes he actually got it. A single tear rolls down his face. He's finally got a shot at saving everyone he killed. Man went full final boss just to get a second chance. Genuinely unhinged origin story. Last time, Frey nuked an entire timeline, watched 5 women die because of him, blew himself up with a demon queen, and woke up as a kid again with a system screen and a single tear rolling down his face. Normal Tuesday. Let's keep going. Chapter 2 rewinds even further, back to when Frey was 10 years old. Little baby Frey is looking at some worm-shaped squiggles on a piece of paper, asking his dad what they are. His dad tells him those are called kana, and only people from the hero family, the Starlights, can actually read them. So this kid's been reading ancient hero language since before he could probably tie his shoes. His dad leads him to this big magical door and drops the bomb that Frey has to go in alone. Frey understandably asks if his dad's coming with him. And instead of answering, his dad puts both hands on his shoulders and asks if he's heard the prophecy going around the empire. Frey says, yeah, obviously, it's the one about their ancestor beating the demon lord. And his dad goes, that's only half of it. The real prophecy says a successor of the demon lord shows up exactly 1,000 years after the original demon lord got defeated. And guess what year it is? That's right. It's been 1,000 years. 10-year-old Frey's whole world just got rearranged in one sentence. He walks through the door, hesitant, and it's pitch black inside. Can't see a thing. Then the door slams shut behind him. Kid starts screaming, banging on the door, calling for his dad. 10 years old and already getting locked in rooms by his own family. Rough start. Then this blue sparkly light shows up out of nowhere and slowly lights the room. Frey follows it, and it leads him straight to the actual hero's sword. He reaches out to grab it, because obviously, and a full-on spirit materializes out of thin air and stops him, saying the power would be too much for him right now. Frey screams and jumps back like a cat that just saw a cucumber. After a solid, awkward silence, Frey asks who this floating guy even is. And the spirit, completely deadpan, goes, don't you recognize your own ancestor's face? Which, translation, he's the hero from 1,000 years ago. Frey actually studies the guy's face for a second and thinks to himself, I thought the ancestor was supposed to be handsome. The spirit hears this, gets visibly annoyed, and just holds it together out of pure willpower. Then the spirit crouches down to Frey's level and asks him straight up, you came here because you want to conquer the world, right? And Frey, 10 years old, completely lost, goes, no, I came because my dad told me to. He says his dad mentioned something about saving his friends and loved ones. The spirit cuts in and goes, yeah, that includes conquering the world, buddy. Then he tells Frey to just listen for a second and launches into this whole speech about how the world Frey's living in is basically set to hard mode, but that doesn't mean it has to end badly. Frey is trying so hard to follow along and just cannot keep up. So the spirit gives up on words entirely, places his hand on Frey's forehead, and just shows him the future directly. And it's bad. Monsters tearing through humans. Complete chaos, every single person Frey loves getting wiped out. The whole world under monster rule. This is what happens if you pick the wrong path, the spirit tells him. Frey just collapses on the floor crying. And honestly, fair. He's 10 and he just watched everyone he loves die in a vision. The spirit doesn't even judge him for it, just thinks, yeah, that's a normal reaction to that. Then, while Frey's still on the ground, the spirit asks him to make his choice, and Frey lifts his head, tears still going. But there's this look of pure determination in his eyes, and he says he'll protect this world for the people he loves, just like his ancestors did. The spirit's actually caught off guard by how serious this 10-year-old sounds. Then he remembers, oh right, this kid's a hero too. So the spirit puts his hand on Frey's forehead again, and this time shows him the other path, the one that actually leads to a happy ending. And he warns him this road isn't going to be easy, but he can't back down. He has to do what needs to be done. And that's the flashback. We're back in the present, and Frey's just standing there thinking he's finally on the path to the happy ending this time. He checks around, and the only thing that's actually changed is the system screen existing. He figures it'll be useful going forward and notices it looks a lot like the prophecy vision his ancestor showed him as a kid. The system's just sitting there, update at 66%, taking its sweet time. Frey figures, hey, his ancestor basically already showed him how this thing works, so it shouldn't be too hard to figure out. And with it, he can finally save everyone. All 5 of them. The heroines. Right in the middle of him, having this whole hopeful moment, there's a knock at the door. It's Kanya asking if she can come in. Frey tells her, sure, come in, while thinking to himself that he's been through a lot to get here and maybe he should actually take it easy for once. He's thinking about how it's just Kanya, his childhood friend, and it's been forever since he's seen her actually smile. Bro's out here trying to relax for 5 seconds, and that's exactly when the system flashes a warning. All 5 main heroines have retained their memories from the previous timeline. Kanya walks in, and her face says it all. She remembers everything. So much for taking it easy. So first, this chapter actually explains what the path of the false villain even is, and honestly, it's kind of a nightmare loophole. In his previous life, Frey chose to be evil and it ended the world. This time around, the system is going to force him to be evil, and if he ever gets caught doing something good, his actual vitality gets drained as punishment. That's the rule that makes this the hidden route. So the deal is simple. Act evil or die. Cool system. Very chill. Not concerning at all. The system also finishes updating and tells him he's starting with 100 evil points, and every time he does something under the disguise of being evil, he earns more points he can trade in for items later. So basically, he's got to be the worst person alive, but make it a loyalty program. Back to the moment where Kanya walks in remembering everything. Frey's just standing there internally going, wow, that is an insane amount of killing intent coming off this girl. Quick refresher, Kanya's his butler, born with this dark mana that's basically been draining her life the entire time. And Frey's sitting there thinking, if she remembers everything, she remembers every single atrocity he committed. So honestly, it wouldn't be shocking if she just tried to kill him right now. Back in the moment, Kanya asks if he wants a meal. Frey says, just bring the usual. She says yes, with what can only be described as a death glare, and walks out, slamming the door. Frey looks at that stare and goes, yep, she definitely remembers everything. Right as he's thinking he needs to prepare for whatever's coming, the system pings an emergency alert. It's called False Villain's Intuition, and it's telling him it senses serious killing intent nearby. Frey's just like, yeah, no kidding, I noticed. The system explains the skill is level 1 and lets him detect life-threatening danger once a day. Frey immediately connects the dots. This is about Kanya. He thinks, if she actually kills me, her master, she's not getting away with that. So does she want me dead badly enough to not even care about the consequences? Then the door creaks open with this ominous dark aura, and Kanya walks in holding a bowl of soup laced with black magic. Frey takes one look at it and goes, I see what's happening here. She's going to feed him cursed soup and have him die under mysterious circumstances, a very normal butler behavior. Kanya hands it over and tells him to enjoy his meal. Frey's internal monologue is basically, Yeah. Given everything I did, I probably look like the worst kind of trash to her right now, but okay, this is where we start. So he stands up, yells, "Wait," then absolutely goes off, yelling who told her to bring this ridiculous soup, and chucks the bowl at her. It flies past her head and shatters against the wall behind her. He keeps yelling, telling her to hurry up and get him a sandwich instead. And right there, the system pings. Plus, one false evil point. Kanya is gritting her teeth so hard you can practically hear it, says she'll prepare it right away, and slams the door on her way out. Frey lets out a sigh of relief. A few minutes later, she's back with a sandwich. Frey looks at it and goes, "I don't see any cheese on this, make it again." She tries to say something back, but Frey cuts her off, asking if she's seriously about to talk back to him right now. She backs down immediately and goes to redo it. And this just keeps happening. Sandwich after sandwich, tiny adjustment after tiny adjustment, every single rejection racking up more false evil points. By round 8, Kanya walks in visibly dizzy, barely holding it together, saying she brought the sandwich exactly how he asked. Frey looks at her wobbling on her feet and thinks, wow, this girl is genuinely relentless. He's basically been draining her magic on purpose this whole time, and she is still showing up. He picks up the sandwich this time. Kanya's eyes light up. Finally, he's actually going to eat it, and then he just tosses it behind him and, grinning, tells her to go make the soup from earlier instead. Kanya, kneeling on the floor at this point, just faints from exhaustion. Frey catches her, gives this small, quiet smile, puts a hand on her forehead, and admits to himself honestly he just wanted to spend a little time messing around and laughing with her. Which is a wild thing to admit after 8 rounds of sandwich torture, but sure, sir. He carries her over and lays her on the bed, thinking he never expected farming points to be this dangerous for the people around him. Then he switches gears, decides he needs to restore her life force before something actually bad happens to her, and the only way to stabilize someone made of dark mana like her is to forcibly transfer life force from another person into her. So that's exactly what he does. Once he's done saving her, he's just sitting next to her, still unconscious, thinking he needs to figure out what to actually do in this ridiculous situation, because clearly things are not going according to plan. He gets up, walks to the calendar, and realizes there's only 2 months left before the main quest kicks off. He was hoping to lay low until then. Instead, this happens on day 1. He starts running the numbers on the rest of the heroines. His fiancée, not a problem for now, she's traveling. Princess Klena, also not really a threat right now since the imperial family's got her under pressure and she's got no room to move. Which leaves the 2 he's actually going to run into at the academy, Ferloche and Irina. Ferloche the Saintess might be an idiot getting manipulated by a cult, but one wrong move around her and Free gets socially annihilated. Irina's worse, she's not exactly the type to weigh consequences before acting, so there's a real chance she tries to kill him the second she lays eyes on him. He notes Kanya's the same type, honestly, but since he's holding her sister as leverage, she probably won't try anything too obvious, so the plan is keep stacking false evil points, because if he doesn't get stronger fast, he's dead. But the points from Kanya alone aren't going to cut it, he needs more people to farm off of. If he plays his information from the Book of Prophecy right, he can cover himself decently. He decides to get everything arranged by tomorrow since the Academy's about to throw real problems at him. The sun comes up and he spends the entire night reading through the Book of Prophecy. He glances over at Kanya, still out cold on the bed, and figures she'll be waking up soon. So, being the guy he is, he picks her up off the bed and lays her on the floor instead, setting the stage for one more round of evil points. Then he yells at the top of his lungs asking how long she's planning to sleep like that. Kanya jolts awake, stares at him for a second, gets up off the floor, and Frey immediately orders her to get the carriage ready since it's the first day of academy. She just says understood and leaves. Alone now, Frey checks the system and is honestly a little underwhelmed looking at his 100 evil points after all that chaos. He figures he needs a few hundred more before he can actually buy anything useful. He looks out the window, watches Kanya prepping the carriage below, and thinks he's got to keep farming points little by little so he doesn't accidentally end up dead in the process. Looks like our boy's about to have a wonderful time at the academy. Sarcasm fully intended. We're at the academy now, and Frey is surrounded by the single biggest glaze session you have ever witnessed. Full-on hype squad. One guy's out here saying it's just common sense the freshman representative would come from the strongest, most powerful ducal family in the empire. Like that's just how physics works. Someone's pouring him wine like he's a Roman emperor. Some girl's going, Frey-sama, you're so wonderful, and he hasn't even done anything yet. And Frey is loving every second of it, loudly announcing he's well known for both his intelligence and his looks, laughing like he actually believes it. Meanwhile, in his head, he's fully aware these people are hyenas circling a carcass, and honestly, a blind man could clock what they actually want from him. One of the boys pipes up, says they'd love to get their family's merchandise displayed in the imperial household, and then, completely unbothered, mentions they've prepared some commoner women for Frey to enjoy, tells him to pick whichever one he likes, like it's a menu. This kid said that like he was offering appetizers. Frey plays along, says he'll judge their sincerity after he's partaken of it, very businesslike. But internally he's just sighing, thinking these nobles only care about two things, women and money. Groundbreaking analysis, honestly. He stabs his steak, takes a bite, and thinks he'll deal with these rotten nobles eventually, right after the small task of also dealing with the actual demon king. Two birds, one apocalypse. Then screaming starts outside. The guy who went to go fetch a woman comes back dragging two girls, one of them literally by the hair, like this is a completely normal Tuesday for this dining hall. Frey looks at the red-haired one and immediately goes pale. It's Irina, and he cannot believe she just got caught like some random extra. Quick refresher for the people in the back. This woman is a walking apocalypse. Fire magic specialist, but she's also a genius who can pull off literally every other element too. In his past life, almost nobody could survive a fight with her. And now she's on the floor of a frat dinner. Something's off. So instead of relaxing, Frey's brain goes straight to conspiracy mode. Did she let herself get caught on purpose? Is this an ambush? Is he about to die at a wine and steak party? He does not wait around to find out. Opens the system store mid-crisis like a man checking his banking app before a big purchase. Finds an item called Emergency Safeguard, one-time protection from a lethal hit, and just buys it instantly. No haggling. Panic shopping at its finest. Meanwhile, Irina's on the floor and a system screen pops up above her saying her mana is completely tapped out. Frey does not relax. If anything, he gets more suspicious, thinking it is genuinely unlike her to run dry like this. Is she loading up one massive attack to take everyone out at once? Man is out here doing threat assessment in the middle of dinner. Right then, Irina snaps, screams that nobody's getting away with this. The other girl's begging everyone to stop, and one of the noble boys starts yelling at them, calling them vulgar, telling them to shut up. Real charming crowd tonight. Frey cuts everybody off, tells the whole room to get lost, tone dead serious. The guy holding Irina's hair is stunned, actually asks Frey to repeat himself. Frey throws his wine glass across the room, screams that he's about to have his fun with these women, so everyone needs to leave right now. And they do, instantly, cheering him on as they run, which is genuinely one of the more unhinged crowd reactions in this whole story so far. The second the room clears out, Frey puts on this full villain grin, walks up to Irina, tilts her chin up, says something about somewhere quieter. Peak scumbag noble cosplay. Irina snaps, calls him a vile bastard, says if she'd known this was how tonight would go, she would have used her ultimate spell on him instead of on the actual Demon King's army. Which, incredible priorities, but okay. Frey plays dumb, asks what she's even talking about, says he'll start by fixing that mouth of hers, reaches toward her chest, still grinning like the villain of the week. Irina shuts her eyes in pure disgust, internally asking herself how she got caught before midnight of all things. And then she hears a thud. Opens her eyes. Frey is just face down, unconscious, on the floor in front of her. Bro passed out mid-villain monologue. Incredible timing. The other girl gets free, unties Irina, tells her he must have just gotten too drunk and passed out, says let's go, and the two of them bolt, hurling insults at him on the way out. Solid exit, 10 out of 10. Once they're gone, Frey opens his eyes and lets out a huge sigh of relief, mentally applauding his own acting, but honestly admits the real MVP was buying that emergency safeguard just in time. He's lying there thinking, wow, good thing I never even had to actually use it, when the clock hits midnight and the system pings him with a notification. Emergency safeguard successfully triggered. Caster, Irina Filliard. Spell used. The 12 o'clock curse. The system helpfully explains that this curse kills the target at midnight the day after it's cast, can only be used once a year, and completely drains the caster's mana for an entire year afterward. So, translation, she did try to kill him. It already went off. He just didn't notice because the safeguard silently caught it. Homeboy almost died mid-dinner party and found out about it after the fact, like a delayed notification. While he's lying there processing that he technically already survived his own death tonight, Kanya walks up, tells him he can't just sleep on the floor like this. Frey immediately snaps back into drunk mode, pokes her cheek, tells her to carry him because apparently he can't walk anymore. Peak method acting. Kanya, visibly annoyed, hauls him onto her back anyway because that's the job. In his head, Frey sighs. Thinks he feels like a court jester working overtime just to keep a king entertained. But hey, while he's up here, he might as well quietly top off her life force a little more. Multitasking villain era. Thinking he's fully passed out, Kanya mutters under her breath, dripping with venom, that he's still as scummy as ever, and if it weren't for her sister, she would have ended him a long time ago. And hearing that, instead of panicking, Frey's mind just drifts. Little Kanya handing him flowers. Kanya panicking when he climbed a tree as a kid. Kanya crying at his bedside when he got hurt. Him telling her not to call him young master because it felt too distant. Frey opens his eyes. And Kanya, still convinced he's out cold, adds that the second her little sister's safety is locked in, she's personally putting a stop to his breathing. Girl really said, let me just secure logistics before the assassination. Respect the planning. Back at the dorm, Kanya sets Frey down in his bed. Frey tells her she can head out now, and Kanya just drops the bomb that she'll actually be staying here from today onward. Frey shoots up like he got electrocuted, asks if she's joking. She is not joking. Turns out the Duke personally ordered her to keep an eye on him, and if Frey tries to kick her out, he gets expelled from the academy. Just like that. No negotiation. Frey is completely floored. Because remember, there are exactly 3 ways this whole system route ends in a hard game over. 1, he dies outside of the final battle. 2, any of the 5 heroines dies. 3, he gets expelled, and apparently option 3 now comes with a built-in roommate who wants him dead. This system said, oh, you thought sleeping was allowed? Adorable. Meanwhile, Kanya's already made her bed right next to his and just says goodnight like this is completely normal. Frey's sitting there agitated, wondering if he can actually survive an academy where he's got to protect his own life and everyone else's at the same time, muttering that this whole shitty game is absurd. But complaining changes nothing, so. Morning comes. Kanya's trying to wake him up for class. Frey just brushes her off, says he doesn't care, going back to sleep. Kanya turns to leave, says she'll go ahead then. And Frey immediately sits up, snaps at her for deciding that on her own, and mid-sentence just starts coughing violently, spitting blood into his hand. Because, quick reminder, he gave away a chunk of his own life force to save her a couple chapters ago, and turns out that Bill doesn't just disappear. Kanya asks flatly if he's okay. Frey, in full damage control mode, hides the bloody hand, wipes it on his own red bedsheet, which, genius move honestly. Blood on red just disappears and gets up saying, since when did she get permission to leave before him? Then he reaches over, plucks a fountain pen right out of her pocket, holds it up, and asks if she thinks a pen can just move on its own without permission. Then chucks it across the room and threatens that if she's got a problem with any of this, she can get lost, and he'll just take her little sister as his mistress instead. Which brutal threat, but also this man is coughing blood into his own bedsheet 30 seconds prior. Multitasking. Kanya breaks down, apologizes. Frey leans in, mocking her, asks if she's actually crying right now, doubles down on the threat about her sister, and walks off telling her not to get any strange ideas. The second he's gone, Kanya walks over, picks the pen up off the floor, and it hits her. This was a gift from her little sister, who told her to remember her through it. Then she notices the blood spot on the sheet and starts wondering if Frey's got some kind of chronic illness she doesn't know about. Girls out here doing detective work while getting emotionally abused. Rough morning all around. Cut to the classroom. New teacher, Iselet Arham Bywalker, introducing herself as the homeroom teacher for the year. Frey and Kanya try to sneak in late, obviously fail, and get called out immediately, 10 points deducted as punishment. Frey, completely straight-faced, blames Kanya for dawdling. The audacity of this man. Irina's sitting there in visible shock, silently freaking out. Why is he even alive? Her spell was perfect. Was he working with the Demon King this whole time? Girl is having a full identity crisis over here while Frey just glances at her, gives a little no-comment head turn, and sits down like nothing happened. Class starts. Frey's internally complaining about having to take actual classes on day one. The audacity of an academy having academics. Meanwhile, the Saintess Ferloche is giving him death glares from the back row the entire lesson. Class ends, students head outside, and that's when Ferloche makes her move, all sweet and innocent. Tells Frey she'd love to give him her blessing. Asks him to come somewhere private where nobody can see them. The system instantly pings, sensing serious killing intent. And Frey's just standing there like, is she even trying to hide it at this point? He shakes it off and declines with a visibly annoyed face. Ferloche fires back that her blessing is something even money can't buy. Frey just walks off, flips her the universal gesture, and says he doesn't need it. Our lovely Saintess is standing there heartbroken, tears in her eyes, over getting flipped off by the villain she's trying to assassinate. Truly a roller coaster of a morning for her. Frey's walking away, thinking being this pure is honestly a liability. She's going to keep getting used by the church over and over if she stays like this. Villain arc, but make it emotionally self-aware. Everyone heads to the training grounds for combat class. The teacher announces they're doing duels, calls students up one by one, and just demolishes them. One kid's sword goes flying immediately. Another tries a fireball, gets a sword at his throat before it even finishes forming. And the teacher casually roasts him, saying his fireball looks more like a sparkler. Then it's Kanya's turn. Teacher asks if she's ready. Kanya says yes, and the fight kicks off. Teacher charging in with her sword, Kanya charging up her dark mana. Meanwhile, Frey's watching from the side, looking totally normal, while secretly feeding Kanya life force the entire time. He's thinking he usually only gives her the bare minimum so he doesn't drain himself dry, but today he doesn't really have a choice, and there's only so much he can pump into her from this far away. He's basically praying for the fight to just end already, because every second that passes is another second closer to him keeling over. He's clutching his chest in actual pain, wondering how much longer this is going to drag on. Man showed up to watch a sword fight, and ended up in a silent battle for his own life on the sidelines. Down on the field, the teacher's actually impressed, tells Kanya she lasted longer than expected, says she wants to see how far she can really push her, and comes at her again. Right then, Kanya throws her hands up and says she's done. Teacher stops immediately. Kanya explains she was born with unstable mana that could go berserk if she keeps fighting. Teacher nods, says that explains why she was being so careful, and adds, it's a shame because Kanya's got exactly the qualities to become a genuinely powerful mage. Off to the side, Frey lets out a massive breath of relief, thinking he was seriously about to die from running out of life force just now, but hey, at least Kanya's safe. Kanya walks off the field, and the teacher calls for the next student. It's Frey. He pins on a brooch loaded with evil mana, walks onto the field with this smug, arrogant grin plastered on his face, thinking to himself, this is basically a free buffet of false evil points just waiting to be collected. So in 5 chapters, Frey's already destroyed the world once, died on purpose, gotten a second chance, turned his own butler into a walking assassination threat, survived a curse he didn't even know hit him, and just walked onto a training field with a smug grin, ready to farm points off his own combat teacher. Bro's 5 chapters in and already got a body count of near misses, longer than most manhwa leads rack up in 50. That's where we're leaving it for now. If you want to see how bad this gets, let me know in the comments and drop a like if Frey's chaos is already living rent-free in your head. And see you in the next one.